All right, y'all, welcome to the show. I got a great one for you today. So in just a second, I'm going to be debunking the absolute worst, most hacky pro-Trump arguments. And you've heard them a million times. You will hear them a million more. But I need you to understand these are blatant, brazen lies. And I'm going to give you the ammunition of facts that you need to combat this nonsense. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about Trump in one of his rallies describes how his mass deportation is going to go. And let's just say it's not pretty. It's not pretty to say the least. Then we'll get to a shock moment over on Fox News as one of the hosts gives Kamala credit for what he thinks is a good policy. That's fascinating. And then later on, the power went out in Southern California when it was 105 degrees outside. I need you to think about how terrifying that is. That's a terrifying thing. And RFK and his running mate released this Make America Healthy Again ad, and I have thoughts in reaction to it. So we'll jump into it in a second. Everybody do me a big favor. Please click like and subscribe to the video. That helps out massively. It costs you nothing. Look, not everybody's like Tim Pool and Dave Rubin and whoever else. Benny Johnson was in that indictment. Not all of us take money from shady billionaire donors or people with links to the Russian government. Some of us just have Patreon donations and the default ads on YouTube. So hook a brother up if you can. $2 a month, $5 a month, whatever it may be. All right. This is actual independent media, not fake independent media, or as I call it, new corporate media. This is real independent media. All right. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Tucker Carlson hosted this event the other day. He had on his favorite guests, people like Russell Brand and RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard. We got a bunch of the stuff in the show. So one of the arguments you hear all the time from the right in favor of Trump is that, look, he's pro-free speech and he's against the wars. This is what you hear. That's a lie. He's neither of those things, but let's hear them out and then we'll respond to it. So we'll start here with Russell Brand, then we'll get to RFK. Here we go.
I'm encouraged by the joining of Trump's Republican MAGA movement by Robert Kennedy. Because I've known Bobby Kennedy for a while, not as long as you, of course, but I believe Bobby Kennedy to be a very decent and beautiful and kind man. And I also note that since he has joined the campaign, he is brought to the forefront, and I'm, of course, not claiming to be an expert in your politics, but I noted that he spoke about free speech and the integrity of that, ending war, and children's health. From which I can only conclude he must have become some sort of right-wing fascist. I think the children's health was the giveaway.
You get it? Because they call us right-wing fascists, even though we're not, even though we are, but we're not. Oh, this is so hacky. So first of all, on the Bobby Kennedy cares so much about children's health. You know, there's another way of saying the thing you're trying to say, which is he's massively anti-vaccine. Why don't you just say that? Why don't you just tell the truth? You have to couch it in the sophistry of, oh, he just cares about children's health, bro. No. Say it plain. Say it like it is. He's massively anti-vaccine. He thinks that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. So I'm going to stand on business and say, I'm anti-vaccine and he is too, and that's why I like him. Weird. You're softening it to make the argument. You're dodging the reality of the situation to make the argument. Why don't you just say it? You should just say it. Say you're anti-vaccine because you're anti-vaccine. Just say it. Look, the difference between people like me and people like them is my skepticism of Big Pharma is about the profit motive. My skepticism of Big Pharma is about the price gouging. My skepticism is not, hey, none of your drugs work and you're actually purposefully poisoning the population. That's not my criticism. It's a lot of universities that do the research and development to make these drugs that save people's lives. The problem is that they charge you an arm and a leg before, because you pay for the research with tax money, and after, when they charge you privately and they price gouge you. So this is what happens when you get the anti-establishment brainworms. Your position goes from, I'm anti-big pharma, I think we should nationalize it so everybody can get the benefits of this medicine. Your position goes from that to, actually, Bill Gates put a fucking microchip in the vaccine and they're trying to poison people with the vaccine, and the big pharma is trying to poison everybody and kill everybody, and vaccines are giving kids autism and giving people this issue and that issue. Just say it. Why are you hiding it? Why are you playing hide the ball? Okay, so let's break this down further. He says, well, look, I love that RFK joined with the Trump movement because RFK is a fundamentally decent person and he's like anti-war and stuff. RFK is one of the biggest cheerleaders for the genocide in Gaza. One of the biggest cheerleaders. He went on Breaking Points and said, the Palestinians are the most pampered people on earth. A fucking Nepo baby, a Kennedy, saying Palestinians are the most pampered people on earth? How many have died? Minimum 48,000 have died. Over 16,000 women and children. 70% of the buildings in Gaza totally obliterated. UN workers killed. Schools, hospitals, all civilian infrastructure attacked. People desperately needing food getting murked by the IDF. They've set up literal concentration camps where they anally rape and torture people. But they're the most pampered people on earth. Again, here's your anti-war guy, the guy who wants to send more money and more weapons to Israel and is a fanatic about it. But according to Russell Brand, these guys are anti-war. My ass, they're anti-war. All right, I'll get to the free speech thing in a second too. But before we do that, now let's go to the man himself. Here's RFK Jr. He's going to use a lot of buzzwords, a lot of like popular lingo to try to argue, bro, Trump is taking on the establishment, bro. He's taking on the system, bro. Here we go.
There's been an inversion now where the Republican Party has become the party of the common man, of working people, of the middle class.
By the way, who has more union endorsements? I'll wait. Who has more union endorsements? Which president brought back 800,000 manufacturing jobs, and which president lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs? I'll wait. For those of you who may be dense in the audience, what I'm trying to say is Biden brought back 800,000 manufacturing jobs, despite all of his flaws, and Trump outsourced 200,000 manufacturing jobs. And in his corporate tax cut bill, it incentivized outsourcing. Remember all the virtue signaling he did over the Carrier factory, how he's saving their jobs? He gave them a fuckload of government money, and then within a year, they outsourced the jobs anyway. So they robbed you twice. They stole your tax money for a subsidy, and then they outsourced the jobs anyway. But listen to them. Oh, yeah, Republicans are the party of the working class. Really? Have you looked at their proposals? Do you know they just voted against extending the child tax credit? They just did it. It wasn't that long ago. They just did it. You got anything to say about that? Literally all of them are against the PRO Act. Literally all of them are against the PRO Act. There's only 2 Democrats who are against the PRO Act. All the other Democrats were for it. Every Republican was against the PRO Act. But you're telling me Republicans are the party of the working class? Trump's been going around in Mar-a-Lago promising his multi-millionaire, billionaire donors another tax cut, but he's the candidate of the working class. Are you fucking kidding me? And by the way, let's be clear. I'm not saying the Democrats are wonderful and they're perfect on issues of the working class. No, but they're 1,000,000,000% better than the Republicans, and that's not debatable. That's a fact.
The Democratic Party has become the party of Wall Street, of the military-industrial complex.
Because, Republicans, they don't take any money from Wall Street or the military-industrial complex. Do you hear yourself, RFK? Let's be clear. I want to be clear about this. RFK, you're lying. You know you're lying. You're not saying something that you think is true, but it isn't true. No, you know this is bullshit. You know Republicans take a tremendous, probably more money from Wall Street than the Democrats do, and they take just as much, if not more, from the military-industrial complex.
Big pharma, big agriculture, big tech, the big banking systems, and all of it.
Literally all of those give money to the Republicans, and for most of them, more money to the Republicans.
What Donald Trump calls the deep state, which is this web of financial interests that is not necessarily a little conspiracy, but it's a conspiracy of self-interest that functions together in tandem to shift wealth upward, to clamp down totalitarian controls, and to transform this country from the world's exemplary democracy into a corporate kleptocracy and a very, very oppressive oligarchical system, the kind of system that we fought a revolution to overthrow in 1776.
Wow. Bless you for saying that.
RFK so against the corporate kleptocracy that he's going to endorse Donald Trump, who's like the kingpin of the corporate kleptocracy. Remember when Donald Trump took $1 million from the predatory payday loan industry for his inauguration, and then as soon as he got into office, he turned around and dropped the new regulations against them and dropped the court cases into them? You remember that? Remember when he destroyed the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is one of the few government agencies that actually looks out for regular working people? And when Americans get defrauded by big financial institutions, they fine them and then reimburse the American people. Remember when Donald Trump destroyed that? Remember when he took $100 million from Sheldon Adelson on 2 separate occasions and then sold his foreign policy to Sheldon Adelson to do whatever the hell he wanted to do? Remember when he took $100 million from Miriam Adelson and promised her that Israel can annex the West Bank? Remember when he took money from all these various corporations and then did their bidding? Remember when his major piece of legislation was a corporate tax cut for There was a corporate tax cut and tax cuts for the rich. In fact, 83% of the benefits of that tax cut bill went to the top 1%. Remember that? Or are you just going to pretend and virtue signal like Donald Trump is actually somehow fighting the establishment and fighting a deep state? We know the answer. He's going to pretend, and he's going to virtue signal, and he's going to lie. He knows he's lying. He knows he's lying. By the way, notice he also didn't bring up, when talking about the industries that are buying politicians. Weird. He left out the NRA and he left out big oil. Interesting. Could it be because those two main industries only pretty much exclusively give money to the Republicans and not the Democrats? Could it be that? Could it be that? Again, it's these guys, they're just dishonest. I don't know how else to put it. They're dishonest. All right, so now let's get to the meat of the conversation here. The two main claims that you hear from both Russell Brand but also RFK is that, hey, look, we support Trump because Trump is pro-free speech. He's anti-censorship. And also, he's anti-war. Let's take these one by one. First, let's go to the free speech one. I love this. I love this meme. Shout out to Project Liberal who created this meme here. This is somebody wearing a MAGA hat says, "I'm a free speech absolutist." Then there's a picture of somebody burning an American flag. And then they say, "Imprison them." What happened? I thought you were free speech absolutists. There has literally been a Supreme Court case about this exact issue, and even uber-conservative Justice Antonin Scalia said, I might not like burning the flag, but it's absolutely free speech. It's absolutely protected by the First Amendment. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is a way of expressing disapproval with U.S. policy, or whatever fucking flag you happen to be burning. It's a way of expressing disapproval of said policies of said country. All of a sudden, they flip on it. But of course, it gets deeper than that. So here's Trump's record on free speech. Here's his record. Wants to punish flag burning with a year in jail. Trump sued CNN for $475 million for calling election denialism the big lie. Trump sued Bill Maher for $5 million over a joke. Trump supports, quote, opening up the libel laws to sue journalists. He called for jailing journalists who reported on the SCOTUS abortion ruling. He wants to deport pro-Palestine protesters. He did a gag order to the EPA to try to prevent them from telling the truth on climate change. He arrested and charged 6 journalists with, quote, felony rioting. He didn't pardon Assange. He didn't pardon Snowden. He didn't pardon Daniel Hale. He wanted to invoke the Insurrection Act to deploy U.S. troops against George Floyd protesters. He called to terminate, quote, all rules, regulations, and articles in the Constitution over his election law so he can get himself back in power. Tell me again how he supports free speech. By the way, he launched Truth Social, the competitor to Twitter, and they said it's going to be a free speech platform. Within like a week, they had a whole long list of rules and regulations and things you can't say, and people were banned. And even some of those things they banned people for were like banal, run-of-the-mill, regular, like some pro-choice shit was banned because it was pro-choice shit, right? They banned people from streaming the January 6th committee, for example. He's not remotely pro-free speech, not even close. And this is what I hate. I hate politics where people argue based off narratives as opposed to actual information. And the narrative on the right is, oh, Trump's anti-establishment, he's pro-free speech. Let's be honest. What they're saying is, we don't like the woke social justice warriors who have pink hair and a septum ring. We're against those people. We don't like them. And so we're just going to scream free speech from the rooftops to symbolize how we don't like these people. That's really what it comes down to. That's really what it comes down to. Or, oh my God, people are canceling comedians, and we're against canceling comedians. Oh, how fucking brave of you. How brave of you to be against canceling comedians. And I haven't even brought up the laws that are on the books in so many red states that effectively try to ban protests they don't like. That happened under Donald Trump. Now, he wasn't, the state governments are primarily responsible, but he did nothing to stop it. He did nothing to stop it. Haven't even brought up the anti-BDS laws, which are on the books in many states, red states and some blue states. He hasn't done anything to fucking stop that. In fact, he said he wants to deport pro-Palestine protesters. He smears them all and calls them pro-Hamas. Anybody who says Trump is pro-free speech is flat out lying to you. They're lying to you. They know it's not true. Because I don't think Russell Brand or RFK are the smartest, but they know at least 2 or 3 of these things that are on this list. They just don't care. And then finally, the Trump foreign policy stuff. Now, we've talked about these things so many times that you guys can probably recite the things on the list just as fast as I can, right? But there's also some that I had forgotten, but Mehdi Hassan brought up recently that now I remember. But all right, so let's go through it. Increased drone strikes 432%. By the way, something I just learned, or relearned, I should say. Trump did 2,243 drone strikes in his first 2 years as president, and that's more than Obama did in 8 years. Trump kept us in Iraq and Afghanistan. Under his watch, there was a 330% increase in civilian deaths in Afghanistan. Trump bombed Syria twice. He bombed Somalia. He occupied a third of Syria. And these are his words now to, quote, take the oil. He let Israel illegally annex the Golan Heights, which is Syrian territory. He said, no, that's Israel territory. Why? Because they bought me, so now I'm going to let them take it. He assassinated a top Iranian commander, General Soleimani, tried to coup Venezuela. He ripped up the Iran agreement. He armed Saudi Arabia as they did a genocide and then vetoed a bill to cut off the weapons to Saudi Arabia. He said he wants war with Mexico in his second term. He goes after Biden for not being right-wing enough on the issue of Israel. He says Biden's not letting them, quote, finish the job. Trump dropped the Moab in Afghanistan. That's the mother of all bombs. He ramped up the defense budget every single year he was in there. And of course, he hired John Bolton and Mike Pompeo and Gina Haspel and all these insane neocon warmongers. And by the way, one more. Trump's first military raid that he approved as president killed a young American girl. In fact, the evidence for the raid was so poor that even Obama before him said, we're not going to do this raid. There's not enough reason to do this raid. Trump approved it. A young American girl was killed. There's your anti-war hero, you fucking charlatans, con men, frauds, and liars. And look, let me say it one more time. I know they're being dishonest. Because even if you say, hey, Kyle, they don't know that whole list you laid out, you're telling me they don't know 2 or 3 of these things? You're telling me they don't know even 1 of these things? No, they do. They do. And they're very, very comfortable lying because they're grifters. They want to be figureheads of the MAGA movement and get the fame and adoration from the crowd. That's what they want. That's what they want. And they're getting it. As they lie and hoodwink and bamboozle everybody every step of the way, knowing that they're saying things that are not true. Don't believe them. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.